What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today Mike Renner dropped another mock draft, and we are going to be reviewing it and continuing it for one more round. So if you guys are new, I would love for you guys to stick around, like, comment, subscribe, join the community. It has been booming lately, and I have you guys to thank for it. It's been absolutely awesome, and join the Discord. You guys haven't already, do stuff over there like all 22 tape studies, and then I just like to hang out with you guys over there. Fan mock drafts, which I released one last week as well. So it's absolutely free. I think that you're missing out, and I'm missing out on being able to hang out with you. You can message me there anytime. Obviously, y'all see my board right below my face. I know you guys are going to have issues with it, but I just ask one thing of you. Just come to the Discord and ask me. I'm more than willing to show you the tape and be able to back it up. And if you don't believe it by that point, that's perfectly fine. But before you watch the tape, don't try to criticize, because I spend a lot of time trying to give you guys honest opinions, because I want to, uplift the integrity of this not so integral community. So let's go. Let's hop right into this. Starting off with the number 1 overall pick, the Colts made a trade. So there we go. Awesome. Colts are trading up for Bryce Young. He is the guy to go for number 1. He is the best quarterback in the class. Does not have the frame of the best quarterback in the class. CJ definitely takes the cake on that one. But when it comes to the mental processing of the game, being able to uplift talent around you, there's nobody who comes close to Bryce Young's talent in that regard. So very translatable to the NFL, and we've seen him look very mortal at points, and that's a very good thing to see, because he hasn't really been the reason his teams have lost, and that's really all you can ask for. It just depends on the price that you pay for the number 1 pick. It's very, very expensive. Very expensive. But Bryce Young is just incredible. He's an incredible quarterback. Houston Texans going Will Levis. So this is a surprise to everybody, including myself. I like Will Levis. Now, I will scroll. Oh, there you go. I love how you guys can see exactly where my mouse is. Here we go. I'll scroll down so you guys get to see where I have Will Levis. He's at 26 right now. Thank you, Jared Verse, for absolutely shellacking my big board. I don't think that he is a guaranteed home run hit. I don't. I think that he has issues that are not perfectly solvable. And at number 2, it's a little bit tough to justify that. However, I do see a lot more translatable tape than CJ. So I do understand those who like him more. Before the Ohio State game, well, he plays for Ohio State. Before the Georgia game, I was actually higher on Will Levis as well. But it's not saying that I think they're worth the top 5 picks. I personally just don't fully believe in this QB class. Will Levis has definitely some big turnover-worthy play issues, and then CJ has some of his own, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. But yeah, Texans going Will Levis, that's a little bit tough. It's a little bit tough for me to justify that when I have questions about that quarterback position. Personally, I'd want to go after a free agent and get Jalen Carter. I want to get the best player on the board, because I don't think that Will Levis is going to be the guy who brings the Texans to a Super Bowl, and that's the real name of the game. I'd much rather potentially go with Davis Mills one more year and just say, hey, screw it that way, or go and say, you know what, Derek Carr, follow your brother's footsteps. You are a damn good quarterback, as a bridge quarterback, of course, but, at that point, then you could be able to bring on Jalen Carter, and worst case scenario, you end up with like Drake May or whoever the hell else is in the next class. But it's tough to go Will Levis at 2. I don't know if he's necessarily proven that he should be a number 2 overall pick, but he definitely is better than what the haters say. Arizona Cardinals, Will Anderson. I'd be going Jalen Carter 10 out of 10 times here. Defensive interior still is a position they need to go after. Deep edge class and very thin defensive interior class. So that's where I'm going personally. Again, I have a lot of respect for Mike, so if I do sound harsh, that's just because I'm a big fan of Mike and I hold him to a very high esteem. Bears going Jalen Carter. If that's the pick there, my God, that's the dream. It's who I would take at number 1. I just released a no trades mock yesterday, and you guys should check it out because, well, you're stuck at that spot. You can't trade out of it, and I think that you could definitely look at Jalen Carter being the dream option there at number 1, let alone number 4. Seattle Seahawks going Myles Murphy. It is what it is, man. It feels like it's very unfortunate going from, oh, we're going to get Will Anderson or Jalen Carter to we're going with Myles Murphy. And it's not that Myles is bad, it's just the potential is a significant drop-off. And the style is significantly different. So you're going to have to game plan significantly differently than if you had someone like Will Anderson on your squad. Lions going Brian Breezy. So here's my quick scouting report for you guys. I'm going to be starting to do that on my website as well. The link is in the description, but don't worry, I'll be posting it on Twitter. I'd follow me there first to be able to get the updates about it rather than just waiting and hopping on the site. But the Brian Breezy, here's my issues with him. He has Perry on Winfrey level IQ. He goes to the backfield and he does not know where the ball is. That's just very unfortunate. It happens time and time and time again. And his tackling's awful. 30% missed tackle rate. You gotta be able, like, if you have those long ass arms, they're not very useful if you're not actually bringing the guy down. Now, he's an elite block shedder. He's an elite pass rusher. I understand that. But the game requires this as much as your technique. And he just doesn't really have it. So I am genuinely concerned on that front. However, he's still, like, this is a great fit for him. I'm not comfortable taking him in the top 10. Vegas Raiders going CJ Stroud. That's the perfect fit for a Josh McDaniels scheme. So I know Mike is not a fan of the Raiders, but it definitely feels like it in this mock draft. You know, he performed very valiantly versus Georgia. We just watched that last night on the Discord as well, so feel free to come join. But, you know, he is a very talented quarterback. The only issue, and everybody doesn't like it when I bring up the issues with CJ Stroud, is this. He has a very top-tier offensive line. That left guard's a little bit suspect. I gotta admit, I watched Paris Johnson last night. That left guard, a little bit suspect. But a very solid offensive line. First-round quality players on that as well. First-round quality running back / running backs. He has a Hall of Famer potentially at wide receiver, along with the fact that he's had pretty much 5 first-round quality receivers in the past 2 years. He has never beat Michigan, so that is a genuine concern. But the bigger thing, I'm not necessarily going to dog on him for not beating Michigan because sometimes matchups are just not good matchups. But the thing is, you're not going to find that in the NFL where you have an elite level offensive line and wide receiver room and running back room. That is just very hard to find. And the Vegas Raiders, you'll be tagging, maybe paying Josh Jacobs, so you'll probably have a nice running back. Offensive line still in the works. And receiving room, you do have some good receivers. So this is his best situation if you can find offensive linemen. So I don't think they can get him here at 7. But if they can, it's a great pick. I'm just going to say hold your horse on thinking CJ is the next coming because of the fact that he's coming from the best possible situation. And that's just so hard to find in the NFL. Falcons going Tyree Wilson. I think it's perfectly fine. I wish it were Jared Verse, but we all know he decided to return. Tyree is an absolute freak at 6'6", 275. 50 pressures, he has the protection, he has the size. Super raw still, like, I don't know how the hell he gets 50 pressures with the technique that he has, but hey, you know what? He's a damn good run stuffer, and he's produced as a pass rusher. That's a damn good start for me. I would not blame the Falcons if they went Tyree there at number 8. Panthers going Anthony Richardson. Boy, is that so hard to digest. Like, I have a weird feeling Anthony Richardson might not even go in the first round. Just, it's some of these weird, and I like Anthony Richardson, right? He's number 32 on my board. I'll scroll down so you guys can see that. He's number 32. So I do have him as a top 32 player, but, oh man, he has incredible traits in terms of his athleticism, his arm strength, etc. But man, he is raw as raw can get. His ability to throw on the run it's literally a roller coaster. You'll see some dimes right on the face mask, like right here, and he's like moving to the side, throwing with a weird arm angle, and it's beautiful. But then there are just some plays where he's scrambling out to the left, and I saw this throw to Ricky Pearsall. Ricky was running an NFL out, and the ball was just way off, and it's like he was open, like not even NFL open, like open, and it was just a complete shank. I don't like when I see quarterbacks shank passes, and it wasn't a purposeful shank. So I'm genuinely concerned, and I don't think the Panthers are going to be necessarily the type to say, hey, you're going to sit here and we're going to wait for a couple more years. How much longer does a fan base need to wait? Like, honestly, this is a great spot for Derek Carr. If you bring him in, Anthony Richardson would not be a bad choice. But until you have someone who's a great veteran to bring him up, not going to be going Anthony Richardson in my eyes. It's a very tough situation. I'd be trying to put all the money in and getting up to number 1. I would do that in a heartbeat. Eagles going Brian Branch here. That is interesting. Very interesting. So I don't know if Chauncey actually does leave in free agency just because of the fact that there's like a picture of him, I think, Was it with Howie? I think he was like lifting Howie off the ground or something. It just looks like he's going to get that cash money. But if he does depart, it makes sense why you would try to address that position. It's a little bit tough to say Brian Branch is worth it. He's still developmental. But, I mean, the Eagles secondary, I mean, you do have dudes who are up for contract, and it is a position where you do need to look at. Titans going Paris Johnson. Rewatched him last night with you guys. Not very confident in him personally. I like Nicholas Petit-Frere as much as Paris Johnson. I like Nicholas Petit-Frere. I saw that there was ups and downs with him. I see that there's more consistency with Paris, but my God, is this anchor awful, man. This guy can get driven back by me. Like, it's just, I don't understand that. He's 315 pounds, but gets moved back like he's 295. Definitely a concern for me, but I love his versatility. I love his athleticism, and I love him on the move. And I hope they could use him that way in this offense. Texans going Quentin Johnston. Obviously, this was released before last night's game. I haven't watched it in all 22, so I'm not going to make any comments on how Quentin Johnston was locked down to a very pretty miserable stat line. But if, like, under the assumption that this was before yesterday, and it was, it's a damn good pick. You get an ex-wide receiver there, and he does have DeAndre Hopkins-esque ability, so I do like that quite a bit. New York Jets going Peter Skoronski. I'm just so scared about his arm length. And I was like, you guys can go back videos before. I was like the guy, hey, listen, arm length doesn't matter as long as you use it correctly. I didn't realize how short his arms were. I did not see him initiate contact once. He's not controlling the contact between him and the defender. If you're not controlling that relationship, that engagement, then you are going to be at the will of them. And when you have very talented edge rushers, very talented defensive coordinators, so you got like Von Miller, you also have Bill Belichick who knows how to take advantage of players. That's very scary for me as a Jets, if I were a Jets fan. So unless you have an opening at guard that you are very confident that you can move to, you want to move ABT to tackle and say, hey, Skoronski, if you don't work there, we'll swap you an ABT. Fine. I am just genuinely concerned because I love Peter, but my God, there's sometimes a point where the the measurables have to be factored in. I am just very, very scared for Peter Skoronski at the next level. Patriots, Devon Witherspoon. Also, you guys get to see where I have Peter Skoronski. He's a good player. It's just, you got to watch out for that. Devon Witherspoon, man, I'm waiting for some All-22 on this guy. I am very jealous of PFF for having it. And I will just say this, in terms of integrity in this industry, some of the people who you can trust are PFF. Most of the people who are not part of PFF or the NFL or Brett Coleman don't trust what they're saying on cornerbacks right now. They're watching game tape. That's just not right. That's not, unless you have access to all 22, and there's usually one primary source that everyone uses, they don't have Devon Witherspoon tape. And you guys can come to the Discord. I show you guys that myself. I'm perfectly open about guys who I don't get to fully watch. And I'm not going to make an official opinion on Devon Witherspoon until I see that. So I know that if guys like Mike Renner are huge on Devon Witherspoon, that's based off of all 22. And I have a lot of respect for, again, the opinions of people like Mike Renner. But again, if you see people like talking up Devon Witherspoon like they've watched the tape, make sure that they're in part of an organization that actually gets the tape, because game tape does not show you how they play. It just doesn't. Green Bay Packers, Michael Mayer. I just love the second round of this class so much in terms of its tight end depth. You got Dalton Kincaid in there, hell, Luke Musgrave's in there, Darnell Washington. That I don't think you need to spend a first on Michael Mayer. I like him a lot compared to what his All-22 of Ohio State looked like, which was pretty abysmal. But I just don't know if he's worth the top 15 pick when the tight end class is so loaded in the second round. Commanders going Christian Gonzalez, really damn good corner, high upside, great ball skills. He definitely can potentially get beaten by double moves. Even against BYU receivers, I saw him let up some ground on some harder cuts, but definitely something you could work on and tweak at the NFL level. He has a lot of really good traits. I'm perfectly fine with him at 16. Steelers, Cam Smith. We need a cornerback. I'd rather go offensive line, but I really would not complain at all at going a cornerback. I have a little bit of PTSD from Artie Burns, but just trust. Just trust. Lions going Bijan, I think that's perfectly fine. I personally like going after maybe a corner in this position, and I think that Joey Porter's still on the board, and y'all know my love and obsession for Joey Porter. So I'm very biased on that. However, I think that going corner would be a better value in a very loaded running back class. But if you're going to go offense, probably running back's the way to go for this team, and Bijan's a great player. Buccaneers, Nolan Smith. He is a very, very good player. Tore his pectoral, so I am a little bit concerned about him coming back because of the fact that his playstyle uses a lot of pec, based on the fact he likes to throw people off. It requires a lot of pec activation, which is probably why he tore it. And but he's a damn good player, hell of an athlete, and he developed his run defense to an extreme level. I gotta give kudos for that. So I love Nolan Smith. Him at 19, maybe a little bit interesting because he's more scheme specific at 235, but a damn good player nonetheless. Seattle Seahawks going Keely Ringo. That's a damn good spot to take Keely. I gotta admit, I really like it. So I don't think I really need to talk much about that. Tariq Woolen, Keely Ringo, it would be a nasty combo. Osiris Torrance just has some very sus reps. Like, you just see him get beat very easily. Omari Thomas from Tennessee. That was the first time I saw it. And like, there's reps where he loses off the bat. And that's a little bit scary to me. He has some god tier reps. You see when, like, there's an intangibility when you see an offensive lineman just in control, comfortable, being able to manage the engagement. And he has those reps. But there's also those where it's like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, that's a little bit concerning. And he has those. Whether it's against Jalen Carter, which he probably should, or against even guys like Omari Thomas, who is much less known. I don't even know if he's coming out in this class. You have to watch out because there is that tape out there where he is getting beat off the snap, and that's going to destroy a whole entire drive. It is something I'm worried about, but he is totally worth taking a risk on. Maybe not at 21 for me, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad pick at all. Giants going Jordan Addison. I really like Jordan Addison on the squad. I'm never going to complain about it. Ravens and Darnell Washington, huh? So they just got rid of Nick Boyle. I would not be against this. More blocking, which is great for a run-heavy offense. A super freak of an athlete, especially for his size. I honestly do not care about this pick at all. It's great. I'm not going to complain. I don't know if he's worth necessarily a first, but damn, I'm not going to blame the Ravens because they don't have a second-round pick for taking a shot on somebody who is an absolute monster. So, yeah, I have nothing to complain about there. Los Angeles Chargers, Zay Flowers. I'm perfectly fine with it. He didn't get invited to the Senior Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to, I'm bugging on the other bowl, right? The East-West Shrine. But, I mean, his talent's great, so I'm not really going to shame him for that. I don't know if the NFL just doesn't see him like that. That's why he didn't get an invite or something, but his talent's awesome. He's the reason I didn't like Andrew Booth last year, is because Zay Flowers just ate him for lunch. So, a really good player. He was literally Boston College's entire offense. Drew Sanders to the Cowboys. One, I can see it. I can. He's a pass-rushing linebacker. That's usually apparently now the new thing for the Cowboys. But he's super fluid as an athlete. He has a great size to him, and he's been able to put on more weight because he was a 250-pound edge rusher for Bama. So you know he has the talent, and he puts it on tape. He looked really, really, really good as a linebacker, especially when you understand that it was his first year since high school. I really like Drew Sanders right there. Anton Harrison's a dream pick for the Bengals. I'm very high on him. Just a really, really good player. McKee, I am going to take this through the lens of PFF, and I know they're very high on Tanner McKee. I'm not, and I could be totally wrong, so can they. But let's just think about it through their lens. If Tanner McKee is seen as high as they do, I think that it could be a way to save some cash. I know that you have Kirk Cousins on contract for one more year. Therefore, you do kind of need that succession plan. Tanner McKee is going to be the guy very similar to Kirk in a distributor. And I think he doesn't have the upside that maybe some other people do. But in their eyes, he has that upside to be kind of the continuation of Kirk Cousins. 29, the Broncos going Joey Porter. Oh, my God. Holy shit. So I'm going to let you see where Joey's on my board. It's pretty high. I love Joey Porter with all my heart. I want him to go to a heavy zone scheme because his field awareness is impeccable. He's great against the run as well. He's very grabby, but we're talking about Sauce Gardner being one of the best corners in the NFL. He's very grabby. So it's just part of the game at this point. I don't think it's necessarily an awful thing. He does get flagged a lot, so maybe getting more nuance with your grabs would be the best thing for him, but I seriously think he might be a Hall of Fame corner. It's just that weird gut feeling. Bills going Trenton Simpson. So, Yeah, apparently Tremaine Edmonds is being recruited to the Steelers. I know it was a joke said by his brother, but I pray to God the Steelers can get some help in the linebacking core. But Trent Simpson, he's a damn good player. If Tremaine Edmonds is gone, would not be a bad choice at all. Luke Musgrave for the Chiefs. Oh, so I did not know Travis Kelce was that old. So yeah, good job by Mike pointing that out. I don't know if I would draft him this high. I would be more concerned with the tackle like Darnell Wright being there. I'd rather develop him for a year than Luke Musgrave, just because, again, this tight end class is super deep. Well, super deep in the first 2 rounds. I'd rather just wait to the end of round 2 at that point. Eagles going Jackson Smith and Jigba. Hello. I don't know if I would ever look at Jackson Smith and Jigba as a prospect for the Eagles, but he's a good run blocker. Feels to be in the similar mold to A.J. Brown, but kind of slower in my eyes. Just a very fluid route runner, but again, I think he's going to be running like a 4.58. Got tracked down by Brandon Smith last year, who ran a 4.53. That is a bit concerning, but hopefully he's back, he's healthy, and I mean, hey, I'm not for this pick personally. I'd want to go maybe a defensive interior, an edge rusher, something else, but it's a tough spot at 32. It's a really tough spot. So let's just hop right into the mock draft and let's continue this thing. All right, so with the first pick in the second round, the Steelers are back. And went Cam Smith round 1. I cannot complain. So positions I would like to look at. I would like to look at offensive line. Broderick Jones is still here. I think that's an excellent choice. I also want to give some credit to Darnell Wright. Because of the fact he can play left tackle and right, that actually does add quite a bit of value to me. Now, I wish we could have Jordan Addison on the board. Because, again, I love that Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison stuff. But I can't pass on Broderick Jones. He is a little bit of line tweaking away from actually being a consistent NFL starter. He has some issues for sure. He's not a guaranteed first-round pick in my eyes. He's not a guaranteed starter in my eyes. He has some issues he needs to fix up. He needs to get more low in his stance. The dude stands up like a damn piece of celery. Like, you can't even bend that shit down. Like, he's straight up. That's going to be an issue when you go up against guys like Myles Garrett. But it looks like it's easily tweakable. And there's some reps in there that are absolutely awesome. Similar to Osiris Torrance. There's reps in there that are like, that's a star tackle. I am just still genuinely concerned. Pick number 33. We've ended up going Will Levis as well as Quentin Johnston. Now, let's try to find maybe an edge rusher here. God, I wish Jarrett Verse were available. That would be a dream. I like going potentially center here. Like getting offensive line, you might as well continue helping out. You could look at edge rusher. Defensive interior is never an awful choice. Linebacker, there's still some really good dudes on the board. But when you have guys like B.J. Ojulari, I would just love to take a shot on him. Super high ceiling player. He is my number 10 guy in the draft, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he's 9 now, thanks to, he's number 9, thanks to, Mr. Douche Nozzle, Jared Verse deciding to leave. But we're going to go B.J. Ojulari. Again, super high ceiling edge rusher. Very, very, very talented at 250 pounds. Very good athlete as well. You see the reason why people are absolutely head over heels for him. And just somebody that I'm very confident in that will make a big impact if he's in the right situation. We don't know the defensive scheme because there's not even a head coach at this moment, but we shall see. Obviously, if they're looking more for somebody who's supposed to be 265 plus, then you could look in the realms of, in my opinion, at that point, Isaiah McGuire, who is my number 2 player in the class, and y'all know my love for that man. But I digress. Pick number 34. I still want to look at corner. I want to look at offensive line. We got Will Anderson. Let's go. That's great. So, corner. The guys who are still on the board, I love me some Jalen Jones, but he's not athletic enough. For me, I would personally try to trade up to the end of the second, steal Tyreek Stevenson. Feels a lot more like that Pat Pete style, something that you really want to have on the outside. You can steal those faster man corners later on because it looks like guys with Marco Wilson could actually fit very well into your system. So, personally, that's where I would be looking rather than Jalen Jones, who, again, one of my favorite players in this class. I want to look at offensive line here. There's some amazing players here. There are. Andrew Voorhees, Luke Whippler, Olusegun Oluwatimi. I just rewatched Cedric Van Pran this morning, and he is so much better than I ever expected. He took big steps. But for me, I want somebody who can step in at tackle if you really need him to. Someone who's been seasoned as a guard. I want to make sure Kyler's protected. I want someone who's been used to a mobile quarterback as well. Andrew Voorhees out of USC. Obviously, he had Caleb Williams behind him this year. Been dealing with some injuries. That's why I don't think he was there during their final game. But, just the consistency down to down and the fact that they even considered him as a potential tackle option there just shows that at least he has that ability in him. But just a super consistent starter, something that, having something consistent would be quite nice there in Arizona. Just a nice, consistent dude. You build the offensive line, build the defensive line, win the trenches before you start trying to be a little too fancy. Pick number 35. So moved up, got Bryce Young. I decided not to throw in the second round pick in there. I don't believe it talked about it in the mock draft as using that second round pick. Again, it could end up being a 1-1-3 and it could be a 1-1-2. I'm not sure. We'll decide that when the value is, when we need to. But I don't want Colts fans to be like, oh, we have nothing to watch, because it is a very real possibility that they're saying, hey, we're moving up to 1. We're not giving you our second round pick, though. Like, you get great value in the future year, and you might get some better value here, but we're not giving you this second round pick. Anyway, I think that going offensive line and protecting your guy, never a bad idea. You got some really good players here, though. I don't know if you necessarily need to pull the trigger on a guard just yet. The guard class got really thin. You can't even get Cooper Beebe anymore. Like, it's that thin. I like Alusagun. I like Cedric Van Pran. Both those guys are great. A lot of people like John Michael Schmitz. He is better than what his haters say. It's very similar to guys like Will Levis. Better than what the people who don't like him say, but maybe not as good as those who are his fan base, which is logical, makes sense. But John Michael Schmitz fits this team perfectly. I might be willing to take him here, and I think I'm going to. I don't necessarily believe in him above other players like Cedric Van Pran, Granger, as well as Alusagun, Louis Timi, and Luke Whippler. But I know John Michael Schmitz fits this offense a lot better. He has that nastiness in him, and I think when you have a mentor like Quentin Nelson, I don't think you're really necessarily going to have a bad pick, because you know that he's in the right hands. Pick number 36. Another team that I'd be honestly looking at offensive line. I really would be. But again, we found another stud in Cedric Van Pran later on. And I know that I could probably get one of these 3 or 4 centers here at that spot. I'm fine with that. So you ended up getting Keely Ringo. You ended up getting Miles Murphy. That's a good start. I want to still look at linebacker. I think that would never be a bad idea. The linebacker class, because of the way this draft fell, is very thin at this moment. I have 2 linebackers who I'm very excited about in the second round. Then after that, I'm starting to get a bit worried. And that boils down to Jack Campbell, and then someone who I personally think it's a crime not to have him here, Tommy Eichenberg. He's my number 1 linebacker in the class. But Jack Campbell feels like he belongs in Seattle. And the class is super thin, and there's teams that need linebacker. You need to make sure you capitalize on this now. There are some really good linebackers in this class. People are saying that's dog water. I'm sorry. It's only dog water compared to last year's class, and the depth is not good. The top tier players here, like Jack Campbell, like Tommy Eichenberg, Drew Sanders, and obviously Trenton Simpson, those guys are actually NFL starters. The rest, that's when it starts getting up for debate. So let's continue on. The Rams, you have a plethora of really, really good options here. You can go offensive line. You have Darnell Wright on the board, actually, and I am enthused to be able to draft him. Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. I'm a big fan of that. He can play left and right tackle. It's a perfect pick for the Rams. It really is. He's very mobile as well. Pretty sure. No, never mind. I was forgetting. I thought that their running back, not Cam Akers, but came from Tennessee. But I don't think they do have a running back from there. Anywho, pick number 38. I'm looking at Jalen Jones here. I'm willing to take a shot on him. You could go Antonio Johnson. I know that safety still is on the board for him, but I'm going to take a shot on Jalen Jones. It's just too good a value at this point. No one throws his way because he's absolutely locked down. He's 6'2", 205 pounds. He's built like a beast, and his only issue might be a little bit of speed. And hell, if I can get him down to 195, you never know. He could actually be really that special. Pick number 39. So got Tyree Wilson in the first. Now, other positions you could go after. I wouldn't be against going offensive line. I would not be going against receiver here. Jalen Hyatt would be a very nice compliment to Drake London. That would not be bad in my eyes. I like Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt just fits his role very, very well. I do like that about him. But so it's like I'm looking at Jalen Hyatt. I'm excited. I've never taken Jalen Hyatt for this team, and I think that could be a really good move. Other positions, again, y'all know I love me some Garrett Williams to this team, but I want to change it up for y'all. Let's have a little bit of fun here. Let's go for a position I have not drafted for this team once this year. Jalen Hyatt. Adding in a nice deep threat. Again, you're just adding more verticality to this team. I don't think you can get really mad about that. Pick number 40 for the Panthers. Linebacker was a position I dreamt of getting. You got AR. So I still think edge rusher needs to be the prime position. You could go Garrett Williams and have him rest for a year. But when there's edge rushers on the board in this quantity, you could wait, of course, but I don't know. Actually, I'm looking at the guys and they don't really fit that 250 and under role that I'm necessarily looking for at this moment. And love of my life, Isaiah McGuire doesn't exactly fit what I'm trying to get either. Like, I would look at Felix and then Will McDonald. And Will McDonald has some potential, but I'd try to go after him in round 3. I wouldn't get him here. So we're actually going to ditch that route. We are going to be going after Garrett Williams. He's going to be coming back from an ACL tear, but my God, was this guy one of the best coverage corners I've seen in this draft. Just somebody who was really special last year. And, he obviously this year, there's no all-22 out on him yet, but based on his play, he was never a liability until he got hurt. And, he's going to be able to come back. ACL tears happen really frequently now. So I do think he's going to come back better than ever. And he has a really good supporting cast there with JC Horn to make sure that he is rolling. Pick number 41. So I've been talking to a couple of guys about this. And shout out to Keegan. He's my resident, also my moderator on Discord. So again, come to the Discord. But he's been the guy who's been my number one Saints fan in my ear. And Rashee Rice does feel like a really good fit here. A lot of people, he's my personal friend. We go to SMU. So, pony up. But hopefully we can bring him on the show sometime soon. He did agree to come on again. He was my first interview for the show, so kind of cool to bring him back. But he would be a really good Michael Thomas replacement. He's much larger. He's going to be a guy who's really good in space. He's not going to be able to push the field vertically the way that maybe you'd want him to, but he's a damn good player. And there are some really big guys like Keon White that you can grab maybe in round 3. I like Keon White. I don't know if I would let him drop there, but it makes sense. I think Rashee Rice is going to be going a lot higher because of the fact that he was very dominant versus the corners he went against. This is a team that definitely is not shy of being able to reach in people's eyes. So Rashee Rice, definitely totally worth the pick. I also think Sean Payton's going to be traded for that first round pick of the Denver Broncos, and that's going to end up being probably like an edge rusher pick. I digress. We'll continue. Pick number 42, offensive line was the selection for the Titans in round 1. So a good option in round 2 would probably be receiver. I love Josh Downs on the squad. An amazing, amazing compliment there. He's also played on the boundary. So Treylon Burks, you can even have Kyle Phillips in the slot, and Josh Downs there. A really unique mover. Very similar to Sky Moore in my eyes in that way, just a very unique mover. Does not have, I think, the release package that Sky Moore had, but a very, very talented receiver there. He was kind of similar to Zay Flowers, the focal point of his offense. Pick number 43 for the Browns. Again, I'm trying to harp on Felix Anudike-Uzomah to this team. I think that's an amazing, amazing choice. I don't really see many other options I'd be that intrigued with. I really don't. It's not a team that has that many holes to where I'm like dying to draft somebody, and wide receiver just doesn't have it. So I'm going to go Felix. Very balanced edge rusher, good in the pass, good against the run, just somebody that's very consistent and very calm, someone who I would love to have on my team. Pick number 44. So the Jets went Peter Skoronski round 1. I think Antonio Johnson would be a nasty addition here. I would be perfectly fine taking him round 1. A very, very good player who he just slips. Sometimes good players slip. That's what happens. Pick number 45, first round was Devon Witherspoon. And for the luck of Bill Belichick, you have some stars on the board, and I would love to take Blake Freeland, a very consistent high upside tackle who just comes in day one. He has a very high floor as well. Definitely is not going to be a bust. I already know I'm just about to jinx myself when I say that. but somebody who I don't think is going to bust out. And I'm usually against these BYU offensive linemen. The Packers are on the board, went Michael Mayer round 1. So for me, I would love to look at more of a run-stuffing edge rusher. Isaiah Foskey feels to be of that mold. Andre Carter's a hyper athlete who he definitely needs some work, but you can definitely tell that he's going to be a monster. Keon White's another good option, but somebody who I think is going to have a major rise. And this team ended up taking some of my favorite players last year. I think Isaiah McGuire is a perfect fit for this team. 275, so he's a much larger person, but he is going to be running, I believe, in the high 4.6s. Based on his talent, based on the speed that he's displayed, doesn't feel like that's going to be a good move. Maybe not going to be the best in the 3-cone, but when you watch the tape, just watch him versus Broderick Jones. Please just do that. Come to the Discord. I'll defend it, but he's my number 2 player in the class. I blend my board with everybody else's to give you a nice balanced approach that has my twist on it, but it's not exactly a complete BS mock because, again, if that's called a fantasy mock, I'll be doing that in the off season, so that would just be a fun video, but that's not something that would display to you guys the best mock draft that I can make. Pick 47 for Washington. Ended up going after, who would you guys go after round 1? Who did Mike get you? Christian Gonzalez. So I like going corner. I think now's a good time to go offensive line. There's some really good dudes in here. And Luke Whippler is a great option. Lusagoon, Cedric Van Pran, all of them great options. I love the idea of Whippler because of the fact that I trust a center to go to guard, and Ohio State's very good at building that versatility in the first place. You can go with any of the options, really, but I just really like Luke Whippler on the squad. Pick number 48 for the Steelers. So we have so far gone Cam Smith as well as Broderick Jones. That seems to be one hell of a combination. I'm looking at Clark Phillips here. I might just go back-to-back DBs in this, or, well, not back-to-back, but 2 in the top 3. I think it's worth it. Cam Sutton's up for a contract. He's a guy who can fit in the slot. Just too good to pass on. DBs have been something that we've been very thin on for probably the past decade at this point. So, Clark Phillips is going to be the thing to do. Pick number 49. So, debating if I want to go Tommy Eichenberg, and I think I do. I need to get that linebacker presence. You guys have Bijan. You guys have Brian Breezy, and this is the first. Is this the first of their second-round picks? It is. There's just very, very few linebackers. Again, my number 1 linebacker is not listed in PFF's database, which is quite insane. But we'll see if he returns. I hope to God he doesn't. By the time of this recording, I don't believe he has. But it's not Cody Simon. It's Tommy Eichenberg, one of my favorite players to watch. Pick number 50, Nolan Smith was the first-round pick. And, I am absolutely in love with the idea of Dalton Kincaid on this squad. Just awesome. It's kind of going to be the Cameron Brate for you guys for the future. Seattle, another pick, just another one. So, again, you guys have gone Jack Campbell. You guys have, what else have you guys gone? Keely Ringo, and then Miles Murphy. So, a pretty well defensive balanced approach. Again, Keely Ringo, you got that corner, you have that linebacker now, and you have that edge rusher. I'm going to be going interior offensive line here, and I think Cedric Van Pran works perfectly in this system. He graded very similarly out to Lusagoon, not as balanced as Lusagoon in my eyes, but, Cedric Van Pran, he's also, I believe, younger, so having that nice youth there would be insanely good. Pick number 52. I would love to go Lusagoon for this team, but we already went after one of the interior offensive linemen. So, tight end, you still have guys like Sam Laporta on the board. That would be awesome, but I don't think you necessarily need to do that. I wish there was a better slot on the board. THT is a guy I would try to address in round 3. There's still some good corners here, but, you could have Emmanuel Forbes be your slot. That would not be an awful decision in my eyes. Defensive interior, you do have some dudes on the board still. I'm projecting Mozzie Smith to go back. That's why I'm not taking him. Rook and Tyler have also gone back. I have a weird feeling that Jerzon Newton's also going to. It's a tough spot. It's a really tough spot. And for me, I think I might end up just going with the good old faithful Emmanuel Forbes and putting him in the slot. I know Darius Williams has been playing very well as a boundary, but Emmanuel Forbes can also move to the boundary if that's not the case next year. Pick 53. Sam Laporte is my ideal tight end for this team because the fact he is very well balanced in terms of his blocking as well as receiving ability. Very solid tight end, very smooth route runner. Just somebody who seems to fit very well into that system. Pick 54 for the Giants. Jordan Addison was round 1's pick. Interior offensive line, you could get a Lusagoon here and have a guard tackle hybrid, but you don't necessarily need to. I would potentially look at tight ends, but not a fan of the guys available right there. Cornerback, though, you have Tyreek Stevenson here and Eli Ricks, too. Ooh, you can give a big middle finger to... Oh, we're giving a middle finger to the Cowboys right there, taking Eli Ricks right before they can get him in round 2. The Bears, they ended up trading back and taking Jalen Carter. So, hallelujah. You did somehow were able to pull it off. But now, I trust this team to develop edge talent. I do. I don't trust many of the offensive linemen that are left on the board. So, for me, Andre Carter is going to be that guy. Again, I trust Chicago to be able to develop these guys, and his ceiling is through the roof. Pick number 56 for the Chargers. Zay Flowers was round 1's pick. Again, not really seeing it with these tight ends. Most of the ones I like decided to go back. So, I mean, potentially go offensive line here. You still have Cody Mock, who would be a nice guy, but I don't really know exactly where I would potentially go with this team. Like, unless I'm going to say that we're going to take Jerzon Newton, I'm not very happy with the guys who are available. And you could go Jail Skinner, move him to linebacker. Honestly, that's probably your best bang for your buck at this point. Just let me know what you guys think about that one. I'm going to move him to linebacker. Just 6'4", 220, has amazing movement skills for that size. I'm a big fan of Jail Skinner, and I just think it's BPA. The Chargers, I mean, they don't really need much, and it's pretty obvious based on, it looks like they're so close to being that good. Pick 57. So, Cowboys ended up going after a linebacker round 1. You're still going to get a corner round 2. It's just not going to be the Bama one. Tyreek Stevenson, 6 foot, 212 pounds. I am an absolute fan of him. He was a great player starting out the year, one of my top 25 players in the draft. Now, where is he at? He's at what, like 53, 54 on my board. Again, most of these guys I'm waiting for all 22 before I make an official opinion. Pick number 58. So we'll scroll down more so you guys get to see some more awesome players. But pick number 58 for the Bengals. First round ended up going after Anton Harrison. Ain't that a damn dream? But I'm looking at edge rusher as well as corner here. And looking at the edge rushers who are available, I love the idea of Lucas Van Ness on this squad. Do I really need to explain it? It's like it's pretty much like Trey Hendrickson 2.0. So, very good value for a player who is an immediate scheme fit. Pick number 59, another Lions pick. And already got Tommy Eichenberg. We already have Bijan. We already have Brian Breezy. And now... I mean, we should have went corner, honestly, before. If I'm going to be honest, we should have went corner. I do have a legitimate regret of not going corner for this team. It's not good enough value at this point. So the best thing you can do is add guys with James Houston in there. And you could have Isaiah Foskey there. You could have Keon White kick to the inside. I don't want to kick another guy to the inside now that we just brought on Brian Breezy. So looking at guys who can stick on the outside, I'm going to take a shot on Isaiah Foskey to be that developmental edge rusher across from and be able to rotate with James Houston. Make sure the guys are healthy as well. Pick number 60 for Carolina. So I wish we had a linebacker. Did we take one? We took Garrett Williams. So it's been Garrett Williams and Anthony Richardson. Wide receiver, you guys could get some extra help in that room. I would not be mad with Xavier Hutchinson, a very secure target, guy who's just going to be someone you could throw the ball to 100 times a year. And I want to show a little bit of love to him. Maybe not going to go this high. Probably not going to go this high. But he's a top 32 player on my board at this moment. We'll see what happens when we continue doing tape studies. Pick number 61 for the Bills. Going after Trenton Simpson round 1, not a bad move. Looking at the safeties, I think you could reach on one at this point with Brandon Joseph. It sucks that Nubbin's gone, but again, the safety class, pretty damn thin. Brandon Joseph has shown a lot of growth there at Notre Dame compared to the way he was at Notre Dame the year before. Not Notre Dame, Northwestern the year before. But that growth is something I'm very excited about. It's something I think can continue there in Buffalo. Pick number 62. I need an offensive lineman Cody Mock is such a good addition to this team. I like Graham Barton as well to it, But Cody Mauch is just, or Mouch, God only knows how the hell to say it. It's somebody that you just see with the right coaching, he's going to be an absolute menace. And I think this is a good spot to take him. And then last but not least, the Eagles. You got a safety in round 1 along with a wide receiver. A very interesting choice in my eyes. But for me, I want to develop a tackle. Let's go Graham Barton here. I really like Graham Barton. He actually graded higher than one of the guys I took earlier. And, I do really... Where's Blake Freeland? There he is. So I graded him higher than Blake Freeland, but I think Blake is more of an NFL day one guy. But I think that when all is said and done, Graham Barton is going to potentially be a better player. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for supporting me as always. See you on the far side. Peace.